Hi guys, this is Todd from the Our Sword Bible blog, and I'm coming at you with a quick little study today, a tidbit from Ecclesiastes chapter 3. And this is one of my favorite books in the Bible, Ecclesiastes, and I was just reading through this particular chapter the other day in the read-through that I'm doing of the Bible, which is a chapter a day. And what an amazing chapter. What truths are conveyed here that I never saw before in the great meta-narrative theme, the great controversy theme, the overarching story of what the universe is in terms of what God has made, what His plan was, how our situation fits into the grand scheme of things, and particularly theodicy. All the suffering, the evil, the pain that we see around us, why that exists, how that can exist if God is truly good and loving and all-powerful, right? So Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 11, and it reads, "He has made everything beautiful in its time. Also He has put eternity in their hearts, except that no one can find out the work that God does from beginning to end." He has made everything beautiful in its time. Everything has its own time. And He has put, this is, as Mark Finley was just mentioning, a great evangelist at the recent GYC, the Generation of Youth for Christ, He has put eternity in their hearts. Every human on this earth has eternity in their heart. God has placed this knowledge, this thing, this, in the Hebrew the word is olam, O-L-A-M. It means eternity, forever, endless. You get the picture? God has placed this in our hearts. We all have this desire, we're not like animals who think just of the second, of what we need right this moment. Our mind goes and we think beyond, we think before and beyond, and we can back up out of this situation that we find ourselves in and look at the grand scheme and ask, what is the point of it all? I desire to live forever. He has put that desire in our hearts, that desire for eternity, the grand theme of things. And so everyone has this in their heart for you to tap into. Whether they admit it or not, it's there. It's in your heart. It's in my heart. We all have eternity in our hearts. God has put it there. And then if you look at verse 14, it says, "I know that whatever God does, it shall be forever. Nothing can be added to it, and nothing can be taken from it. God does it that men should fear before Him." So a couple things about this verse. One, I know that whatever God does, it shall be forever. That word in the Hebrew is olam. It's eternity. The very thing that God has placed in our hearts, the very thing that we have this, that we were made for, that we have this desire for, this eternity of perfection and love, this endless growing of love relationships, this eternity of love, this very thing that God has placed in our hearts, according to verse 14, is the very thing that God is working out. Whatever God does, it shall be forever. He is thinking of eternity in this grand plan. And especially, and in light of the rest of this chapter, and this is the chapter that starts, to everything there is a season. This is verse 1. A time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. And it goes on like this. There is a time for everything. And what God has done, the way God is working out this eternity for us, which is just what we want and are looking for in our innermost heart. The way God is doing this, verse 14 says, nothing can be added to it, and nothing could be taken from it. God does it that men should fear before Him. One day, in the far reaches of eternity, when we're able to look back over the grand scope of things, we will see that indeed the way God worked everything out was the best possible way he could have done it. There is nothing that should have been done that he didn't do and is not doing and will not do. And there's nothing that he has done or will do that shouldn't have been done. We will be able to see that there was no possible better way to get to this perfect eternity that we're longing for than the exact route that God brought us through. And a lot of that has to do with freedom, free will. It all boils down to God creating us as free moral agents, able to truly make our own decisions to follow him in his way of love or to reject him and choose sin, iniquity, lawlessness, which inevitably leads to death. Not arbitrarily, but because that is just the nature of things. Love leads to life. Giving, it leads to life. Sin, selfishness, leads to death. And so that's a little interesting thought, that if you look at Ecclesiastes 3:11 and 3:14, God has put eternity, olam, in their hearts. And I know that whatever God does, it shall be forever, olam, eternity. God is working out the very thing that we most desire in our hearts. God bless.